when I caught wind last week that the league was thinking about allowing the competition committee to tweak what they came up with, which is offensive and defensive pass interference is now reviewable, folks. You do not expand the pool of challenges for NFL coaches, though. They still only get 2, and if they get 2 right, they get a third, and then that's it. That's all. And when it comes to the end of the half, just like anything else that's reviewable, offensive and pass interference on the defensive side comes from the booth. And a lot of folks are saying, well, that makes the last 2 minutes of the game interminable. And if a team's trying to go and trying to move, and the defense is on its heels, and then all of a sudden they buzz in, hey, we need to take a look to see if there was offensive pass interference right there. That helps the defense, doesn't it? And it helps the defense even considerably if they come back and they throw a flag for offensive pass interference. But even if they don't, then the team that's on offense gets handicapped a bit because they're trying to move. I mean, I can go on and on and on about how the scenarios could not work out in the last 2 minutes. So the rule that might be tweaked is you now make offensive and defensive pass interference reviewable via coach's challenge in the last 2 minutes, which has never happened. So everything that's reviewable is in the hands of the booth and the NFL front office in New York City, with the exception of pass interference. That still has to come from the pool of coaches' challenges. And if the coach is out of challenges, well, then guess what? You're out of luck. But the problem with that is the reason why we're going down this road is to make sure that what we saw in the NFC Championship game doesn't happen again. And, of course, the good idea out of all this is that maybe coaches will be a little bit more judicious in challenging plays earlier on in the game, which will keep things moving faster. So that's a good thing, but it's a bad thing if the reason why we're doing this at all isn't fixed. And then comes the idea of, well, regardless if it's coming from the coaches' challenges or it's coming from the booth challenges, you still can't have this happen on a Hail Mary. So, because that, people are running into, it's like a demolition derby in the end zone for a Hail Mary, and for good reason. So you can't use a challenge on a Hail Mary, and the question is so what constitutes a Hail Mary? Is it how many people are in the end zone? Is it how far away you are? How much time's left on the clock? I'm just going to fix it right here. Repeat what I said at the end of the last hour. Keep it the way it is. Keep it the way it is. The reason why we are doing this is to fix the NFC Championship game. Do not tinker with it to allow that to happen again, because the coach is either out of challenges because he got one wrong earlier in the game, or he used them on something that didn't really merit it earlier in the game, or what happens if the coach got all 3 right because the officiating was so bad in the game and can't fix the most egregious one at the end. And then it's not on the coaches. Then it's on the league.
But that's been my point kind of this whole time. Do you really think we're going to see a situation again like what happened at the end of the NFC Championship game? That's got to be the worst of the worst case scenarios.
Correct.
So why do anything to instant replay?
Well, to make sure that even the worst of the worst, the freak accident, doesn't happen again. That's why. And also, as we've expressed, there is a public relations aspect to this because of where it took place, or when it took place, with the whole country watching, Super Bowl trip on the line, less than 2 minutes to go. Horrible non-call. Worst non-call we've ever seen. We have agreed on that. Worst non-call of all time.
And the backlash and the outcry against how bad it's been.
And where it took place in New Orleans, which is a passionate fan base that watches every single out-of-market game like it's their own. They turned the Super Bowl off. We saw that in the numbers. You have to tell New Orleans we hear you. You have to. And they did. And they did. And guess where the largest non-Nashville city to watch the draft was? New Orleans. It's a passionate fan base that you must cater to. You must. And they did. And now we're tinkering with it to the point where when at first blush, I thought that's not a bad idea. But if it doesn't fix what it's supposed to fix, and then it leads to more parsing of what needs to be done with the last 2 minutes for now it's now on the coach's plate, because we in the NFL, We don't want to be responsible for knowing when to stop a game or be criticized for when to stop a game or can't be trusted to know when to stop a game. And we can't come up with the language to know when to stop a game. So it's on the coaches. You got to have a challenge left. And the good part of that is it'll keep the game moving. Well, guess what? It doesn't fix the reason why we're going down this road to begin with. So the reason why this whole thing started was to prevent what we saw in the NFC Championship game from happening again. So how about we make that the standard as to when to stop a game in the last 2 minutes? That's your standard. Well, how do we know? You see it. Again, it's like that industry in Van Nuys, California, that makes certain entertainment. You know it when you see it. Well, how do we know it when we see it? We know it when we see it. It's kind of, again, like the industry in Van Nuys, California. What? It's when somebody gets screwed. Yes.
Hey now.
Yes, I said that into this microphone.
Hey now.
You know it when you see it. Okay? The Supreme Court standard should be the standard for the NFL. So what? It's not codified. We know it when we see it. 2nd and 12, offensive pass interference, minute 40 to go. No, we're not stopping the game for that. And don't be in a position where you're hoping that the game gets stopped for that, because it's never been stopped for that, and it's not going to be stopped for that. That's the way it's going to go. And if the NFL gets a bunch of people complaining, well, guess what? In the last minute of the game, there was a chance for there to be defensive pass interference. But guess what? We're calling it a little bit loose as the way it's always been in the NFL. But guess when we'll buzz in? When we know it, when we see it. That's when you do it. And in terms of what constitutes a Hail Mary, it's less than 10 seconds to go, and you're further than 30 yards away. That's a Hail Mary. Because don't make it that you have to have a certain number of defenders or receivers in the end zone, because you as a fan can't count that up. You do need to replay it to count that up. And you know there are some coaches, like one in New England, that will know exactly how many players are there, and you've got to hang on the 1 yard line. You don't want to change it in a way that makes the Hail Mary easier. 30 yards out, less than 10 seconds to go. Be done with it.
For more of The Rich Eisen Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV for free on BR Live or download The Rich Eisen Show app.